We went to the diner last night all day long. They've been calling me Gaseous Clay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I've been knocking them out.
Oh yeah.
Knocking them out.
What's up there, bud? Answers by Guess. Hello there, Guess.
Yeah. Hey.
How are
How's
you,
it going?
friend?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Gassy.
Gassy, that's what it sure sounded like. Yeah, I was telling you the same thing, dude. My stomach is not friendly with me right now. We are going to a family party, and the amount of food that we've been eating is been pretty heavy, and my stomach's not liking it. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah. That's
All right. ABG3P, guys. Remember, Fantasy Football's inside scoop from outside the box. Remember to always like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, and podcasting on Spotify. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests, ABGFF and ABG3P. Bye weeks, last ones, Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders. You have any of those players in your lineups? Get them out. Remember, guys, merch is there. Ship prices, $25 for t-shirts, $45 for hoodies. We appreciate every single one of you. You want to jump right in? Do you want to talk a little bit?
I'm ready to roll. I kind of like that game. First half was interesting. Second half, not so much. A couple bad play calls. The one thing I mentioned in the ABG chat, we'll get to, and then we'll get right into this. I had mentioned when Matt Canada was fired, I said the same guys can be calling plays. Well, it sure as heck seemed like it because some terrible play calls. When Pittsburgh was down, they're running the ball, they're doing nonsense, and it's just like, come on. I know it's Trubisky, but come on.
I honestly think if it was Pickett, it might have been a little different. He's at least more conscious with the ball as far as from a turnover perspective. But yeah, Trubisky looks like Trubisky. We've seen that before.
Yeah, Zeke looks good for us, and Deontay and Hunter Henry, of course.
Yeah, Hunter Henry, man, on fire the last couple of weeks. All right, ABG3P, propositions, preparations, and our preferences on week NFL 14 here. Dude, 14. Just give you guys a heads up. I know you had mentioned on your answers with guests. I made 2 playoffs so far for our most 2 important leagues. I'm close in the ABG. I think if I win this week, I'm definitely in. If I lose, I'm going to need help to be able to get in. So fingers crossed. I also have a fun league that I do. I'm in 5th in that one, having to win to hopefully make a playoff spot as well.
Well, better than me. So I guess I'll be rooting for you.
Please, sir. Please. All prayers are welcomed.
Bad year. I'm sitting in the ER with my team.
All right, I'm going to jump into the first game here. Houston Texans at the New York Jets. Over under, Dameon Pierce, 37.5 rushing yards. Came on last week, took over kind of the role and from Singletary, it seemed like. But this New York Jets rush defense is pretty strong and heavy. What are you thinking?
Singletary just can't lock down the starting job no matter what he does, how well he does. Pierce is the better guy. You know, I think this is going to be an over because it's going to be windy. Windy is going to be the thing of the day, especially in the East Coast. Up and down the East Coast. Miami's going to be windy too, Florida. So I'm going over because I think that they're going to have to run a little more without Tank Dell. You know, we talked about Brevin Jordan quite a bit, and there's going to be no Schultz. So I think over 37.5. I mean, the Jets are good against the run. They're better against the pass. So over.
All right, flip side of the ball, Mr. Garrett Wilson, 4.5 receptions over under with Zach Wilson coming back again. They're messing that kid's mind up. I saw on the answers with guess what you were saying. I agree with you, man. I don't think it's all Zach's fault. O-line, Hackett, obviously, but with Wilson now looking to his favorite target, can we see this 4.5 be easy?
I think so, because I think where he'll get that is he's become sort of the possession guy. We thought of him more as a speedster, the down the field threat his rookie year, but he's become kind of possession guy. They look to him close. I mean, especially in the red zone, like it's third and one, second one, or second and goal from like the one or the two, they're throwing to Wilson. So I think he can get to 4.5 if they need a couple yards quick. I feel like he's hitting this number every single week with no problem. So I don't
That's
think
how
the
low it
wind,
was, man.
yeah, and the wind and his routes, and Wilson's certainly better than Boyle, and he's hitting this with Boyle. So let's go over.
All right, let's go to the next game here. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Atlanta Falcons. Over under Mr. Rashad White, 85.5 total yards. Probably fantasy's hottest back right now. Close top three. What are you thinking?
Yeah, he's top 5 on the year without a doubt. And if it wasn't for Miami's blow up games, he'd be higher. It's total yards, so I'm going over. This is in a dome, so he catches. Baker loves to pepper him over.
All right, flip side of the ball, Mr. Kyle Pitts. Will he have a touchdown? Yes or no? Got a lot of targets last week, but it was against the Jets. Again, say again.
Yeah, I said yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I mean, coming on, I mean, it's still Ritter, obviously, but this Tampa Bay Bucks isn't the Jets defense.
I think London will get a little more love in this one. He was shut down last week, as expected, going against the Jets corners, like you mentioned. I'm not buying into it. I'm going to say no.
All right, let's say what's up there, Frank. How are you, bud? Let's go to Darius's. What's up, guys? Just got one question for y'all. Garrett Wilson or Cooper Kupp this week? Just talked about Garrett Wilson. What are you thinking about Kupp?
Tough. They're both wind games.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. He's at home. The defenses that he's going against is not as tough. With Kupp going against Baltimore. And Kupp is not the number one, and Wilson is. I'm sorry, but Puka's the number one. And they'll honestly try and use Kyron as much as possible with the wind and whatnot. So I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson, Darius. And thanks for joining us. I love that you always jump in, and you're a YouTube guy. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Thank you. We definitely appreciate you. All right, let's go on to the next game here. Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Over under David Montgomery, 11.55 fantasy points, half PPR. He's been doing pretty good lately, man. I mean, the Gibbs, everybody's been kind of flowing with that offense, but the Chicago defense has been getting a little better.
Yeah, the first revenge game popping up on ABG3P. I'm not sure. Did he play the first game or was he injured? I can't remember.
He did. That's he had 76 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. I'm gonna go over. That Bears secondary is getting sneaky good. They're going to be somebody next year that I think, whether it's Fields or if they draft somebody, and if the quarterback plays well and the offense is good, I think the Bears are somebody to sort of keep your eye on as a sleeper defense heading into next season. When drafting rolls around, just write that down on your notepad, the Bears, because I'm sure they're going to draft some guys on defense as well as offense to keep building this team. But they're getting better each and every week, and they're at home, and it's going to be a little bit of a ground game type of thing, and that's Montgomery. So over.
All right, flip side of the ball here. Mr. DJ Moore, 71.5 receiving yards over under, has been getting a rapport here with Fields the last couple weeks. What do you think coming off the bye?
Justin Fields, they love to run him when it's Detroit. Will Detroit throw a spy on him, and will the spy be able to stop him? I'm going to go under, but I think he has a good game. I'm going to say like 8 for 68, something like in that range. He's close. Probably a touchdown, but I'm going to go under.
All right, let's go on to the next game here. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cleveland Browns. Over under, everybody's favorite pickup this week. Parker Washington, also a 5 guys for your eyes, 3.5 receptions. Ridley kind of disappears when it's not the normal 3. How does that affect and how does that help Parker? We saw a little last week.
Yeah, the fantasy football Wizard of Odds came on. He was looking for guys, showed him the 5 guys for your eyes. This was one of them. And everybody should have had their eyes on him. Everybody knew what happened with Kirk. We saw this guy sort of pop in out of nowhere. I flat out wasn't going to act like I knew who he was. Never heard of him in my life, but he looked the part. Backup quarterback's probably going to be the issue. I know they're saying that Lawrence might go. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Not against Cleveland. That's just stupid.
Why he got hurt?
Yeah. Miles, I don't want Miles Garrett landing on my leg after that. Give him one more week. If he's this close, give him another week. You'll be okay. But it's a bench guy. Rob, this is your angle. It's a bench guy and it's a bench quarterback. And so he's going to hit this quite easily.
I like it. Always works that way, man. This is his number one, technically, probably, and when they're practicing and stuff like that on the sideline. Yeah. So, all right, Scott. Yo. Not much further to go. Cheers, gents. What's up there, Scott? How are you, bud?
Cheers.
All right, let's go with one here for him. Hopkins, Wilson, Reed, or Flowers?
Just one, huh? Let me look here. I know the wind is an issue. Will it be an issue on Monday? I'm going to go Hopkins, I think, against Miami. It's just a volume play, I think. I mean, Jaden Reed, how much really is Green Bay going to have to throw? Maybe Mr. DeVito keeps on slinging. Flowers in a wind game, Wilson in a wind game. I'm going to go with Hopkins for some Monday Night Magic at Miami, and they're going to need him because Miami is going to be able to throw all over Tennessee. So I'm going Hopkins, straight volume play, a little bit of weather mixed in. I'm going Hopkins.
All right. I like it. All right. I did this one already. Oops. All right, next one here. Cleveland Browns side, over under Elijah Moore, 7.5 targets. Been Flacco's favorite go-to guy.
For years.
For years. Yeah, what are you thinking, man?
I was wondering. I had a feeling you were going to have Elijah Moore on here. 7.5 targets. Here's the problem. If the Jags offense stinks, are they going to be throwing much, or is it going to just be a ton of Ford, Hunt, maybe some Strong? But I got to go over. I know Cooper's going to play. He passed the concussion protocol. But Moore is Flacco's guy. And I'm going to go over just because I really think that he's going to be alive for as long as Flacco keeps being the quarterback, which could be into the playoffs.
Yeah, I would not see a change if they keep on winning games. So,
yeah. Well, they've lost 2 in a row now.
But they've looked good, though, with Flacco.
Yeah, good enough. Yep.
Good enough, exactly. All right, next game here. Indianapolis Colts at the Cincinnati Bengals. Over under Mr. Alec Pierce showing his face again. 8.5 fantasy points, full PPR. Seems a little low to me, but he had only one big week. Can we see a repeat, or does Downs affect that in any way?
Yeah, this one's interesting because Minshew is rolling. Talked about that in Tuesday.
Back again, dude.
Yeah. And the Bengals can be thrown on, and Browning looked good, and the Colts could be thrown on. They're much better at home than they are on the road. I think I talked about that a few weeks ago, as far as their defense goes. So this one could be a bit of a shootout. I do think that Downs will reappear. He's been MIA for not counting even his injury, for at least a month's worth of games. Minshew loves Pittman. You know who I really like in this one? I know you're not using him because you're using Pierce. Is Zach Moss. You could certainly run on the Bengals. I think Zach Moss is going to have the game that people hoped he would have last week, but it's Tennessee. You can't really run on Tennessee. I said that. I mentioned that in the show. It's tough. I think you get 3 catches Let's go over.
Yeah,
He might wind up with 7.5, 8 points, but I'm going to go over here just because
What?
I think it's going to be back and forth in this one.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence with this one too. I was looking at Kylan Granson as being the guy. I know he was another 5 guy for your eyes. I always liked Alec Pierce. I think he has that big body. I just figured might as well throw him on here. So
he's the slot possession guy,
yeah, dude, I can't believe me and Mike talked about Downs. We dropped Downs for Mingo. I was like, Mingo's targets keep on going up week by week. Downs hasn't done much. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather take a shot with Mingo. They're starting to let Young, like you said, open up a little bit. So
smart.
All right. On the flip side, Mr. T. Higgins, 38.5 receiving yards. Browning seemed to like everybody, man.
Yeah. I'm taking this over. Yes, he's on my DFS team. Chase had the big game, but 2 of his catches were tips, like they weren't even thrown to him. So I'm taking this. I like Higgins a lot. He's on my DFS team, my main team for the week. He's one of my best plays of the week. T. Higgins.
Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate you all. All right, let's go into another one from Scott here. Madison, Swift, Addison, or Dobbs?
See, Swift going against Dallas has that thing going on. Addison's better with Jefferson. Going against the Raiders. I'm not trusting Madison because Chandler's coming on. They're coming off the bye week. I really want to use Swift. Man, this is a tough one. Swift's a little banged up. They're using Gainwell in the hurry-up situations. It's going to be tough for Dallas. And he's been sort of evaporating, if you will.
We've seen with the Lions before, man.
Remember the first 4 weeks of the year, he was the world beater, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, not week 1, and I told people are going to drop him, pick him up. How many people got Swift for the week 2, 3, 4? No Christian Watson. Dobbs could be interesting, but how much are they going to need him? Man. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go Addison.
I like it.
I'm going to go Addison here.
Justin Jefferson's going to be doubled, man.
I think the Raiders are going to focus on him. Addison's been playing for a few weeks with Dobbs. He has comfortableness with Jordan Addison with throwing him the ball, and the coverage is going to be on Jefferson. And I think that the Raiders at home will be able to score some points. They might get a short field or two. So I'm going with Addison, I think. It's, good weather game inside the dome. Tough to come by. Relatively soft defense. Addison.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm playing Addison this week too. So, all right, let's go into another game here. Los Angeles Rams at the Baltimore Ravens. You mentioned them before, Mr. Puka Nacua, the number 1 for the Rams. 10.45 fantasy points, half PPR. Thought this was kind of low, to be honest with you.
It is, but this is where the wind
comes in. Yeah, the weather.
Essentially, like they're not, but they are the number 1 defense through and through. Baltimore just wants to run. That's time off the clock. You know what? I'm going to go under. I'm going to go Puka under. I think they look to lock him down. He's a little banged up.
All right. Next one here. Lamar Jackson, 1.5 passing touchdowns over under again with this weather being a factor.
Under. I'm going to go under.
It just seems like these East Coast games, man, like you said, are just going to be such an interesting crapshoot.
Rain is never a problem. We've talked about this 7 years we've been doing this, Rob. Wind is a different story. We're having 20-mile-per-hour winds in a football stadium. It changes things. And Baltimore's a team that wants to run anyways. I'll go under.
All right, next game here. Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. I just mentioned it before. Over under Mr. Jonathan Mingo coming on 3.5 receptions. Bryce Young's been looking his way, man.
Mhm.
Thielen's kind of regressing, and Mingo is taking over that lead role.
Yes, over. Easy over. It's finally happening.
Would you play Mingo over Godwin? I want to say I'm playing Godwin right now because of the media thing, the no ill will, Godwin's our guy. I can see him being fed maybe a little bit more this week,
Yeah.
but
Greasy wheel, squeaky wheel gets the oil type of
Yeah.
thing.
This New Orleans Saints defense is no joke still. I mean, I know they're
Yeah,
hurt
but
in
no
different spots,
Lattimore.
but yeah.
The problem is Baker just loves Mike Evans so much.
Yeah.
And Otten got a goose egg last week, and they're going to throw the ball to White. I might take a shot with Mingo, but here's the thing. Here's what you have with Godwin. You have a better shot, way better shot. I'd say 2 or 3 times better shot getting a touchdown with Godwin. If they get close, Godwin has shown he's a red zone guy. He hasn't been so much this year. He's only got the 1 touchdown, but in years past, he knows how to work that end zone.
Yeah.
It's when Carolina gets close, they're just giving the ball to Chuba, it seems like lately.
Yeah.
And they're sort of taking the ball out of Young's hands. So I think I'd probably lean Godwin, but it would not surprise me if Mingo outscored him. It's going to come down to a touchdown. I think if Godwin does get a touchdown because he has a way better shot, he's going to outscore Mingo. Mingo's going to have more receptions than yards. I'll tell you that.
I am keeping my fingers crossed, bud. I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do. So many decisions to make, and that's an ABG league where I need to win to be able to make the playoffs. So, all right, flip side of the ball. Yes or no? Chris Olave 1 touchdown. He's been playing pretty good, but he hasn't really been getting the touchdown.
Yeah.
He's been getting the yardage.
Yeah, I think he'll get a touchdown. There's no Shaheed to steal a long bomb in this one. He's out. A.T. Perry hasn't been too targeted. And Derek Carr's back. So
I just love throwing that guy out there, man.
Yeah. So, and even if he goes out, Jameis was looking at Olave. So I'm going to say yes. Against Carolina, yes. They're easier to run on than throw on, but Olave is a different breed.
All right, let's look here. All right, Scott, got another one here. Finally, Flacco or Dubs? Acid reflux.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Dobbs, Josh Dobbs. Let's do it. Justin Jefferson back. I just said let's play Addison. They got Hawkinson. Flacco's he's not as windy in Cleveland as the further East Coast, like where we are, is going to be. But they're going against Jacksonville. Is it Beathard? Is that who is it? CJ Beat, Mr. Beat Hard. So it's like that defense could just shut the Jags down. So I'm gonna go with Dobbs. Playing in Vegas.
All right, what's up there, Leon? Scott likes that you want to go Addison over Swift. Maybe he was thinking the same exact thing. John, we'll come back to yours. Just going to go through another game here quickly, bud. All right, Minnesota Vikings at the Las Vegas Raiders. Over under Mr. Justin Jefferson coming back now with a new quarterback in Dubs. 70.5 receiving yards. Over under. What are you thinking?
Oh, I like Addison because of the double coverage, but and Dobbs' familiarity and comfort with him from playing with him the past few weeks. Justin Jefferson's itching to come back, and I think he gets this. So over.
All right.
You can contain him to an extent.
He's still Justin Jefferson. He's the best for a reason. All right, flip side of the ball. Over under Aiden O'Connell, 221.5 passing yards. I had to double take. I'm like, man, that kind of seems high. He's been throwing that. He's been doing it.
It does, but I like it. I'll take it because he's going to throw a deep one to Trey Tucker. Michael Mayer, they got him a little extra involved during the bye week. And then there's Adams and Myers. So he'll hit this because I think Minnesota's going to be able to move the ball relatively easily. Over.
Over. All right. All right. Next one here. Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. Over under Mr. Jackson Smith and Jigba. 12.5 fantasy points. Full PPR. He seems to have taken over that Tyler Lockett role, man.
He has, and you can certainly throw on the 49ers. But I'm going to go under here. I'm going to go under. I think that the Niners have Geno's number.
They locked them up last game, right? Didn't they play a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
All right, flip side of the ball here. Over under Mr. Deebo Samuel, 67.5 total yards. Exploded last week. I kind of feel like this is more of an Ayuk gang, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, they're going to reserve him a little bit. 67.5 totals, a little low. But if he doesn't get over 19 yards rushing, I don't think he gets it. So I'm going to say under. We see this all the time. It's a carousel with the Niners, and going against the Seahawks, like you said, Ayuk, maybe Kittle, or we could just see CMC just run all over him. But Debo's blow up last week. They know that they are in position to be the number one team in the NFC, and they know that Brock Purdy needs every single one. And last week, Debo, I think, was needed to beat Philadelphia. He was the MVP of the game. He was the reason they won. It was a 2-yard pass that he took for 40, and his style of play was what they game planned. I don't think they're going to need that against Seattle. So I think that they look elsewhere. So under.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you said, when they're fully healthy and stuff like that, it's almost like what you used to do for Tampa Bay. It's like, that there's going to be, all right, this is a Mike Evans week. All right, this is a Chris Godwin week. All right, this is going to be whoever's week, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown. That's the name I was thinking.
Yep.
All right. John with the question here. Monty, Mostert, Sutton, or Adams in the flex?
Did like Monty. We took his over. A little bit of a revenge game there, playing in Chicago for the first time in his career as the away team. Mostert, we got Achane. It's very tough to run against Tennessee. I think that they're just going to throw as much as they want. Sutton against the Chargers. That one we haven't gotten to on ABG3P yet, but I think it could be interesting. And Adams. Are you still with us? Is this a half point or a full point PPR? I'm interested to know. Not that it really matters, but it's going to sway me more towards Sutton or Adams over Monty. I'm off of Mostert.
You said it's a
full point. I'm going to go with Adams. I'm going with Devontae Adams at home against Minnesota.
I honestly think that's going to be a higher scoring game than people are thinking. All right. Frank says he has 74.5 for JJ. Do you still like the over? Ours was at 70.5.
Yeah. I wouldn't go too crazy. His first came back, but I think he could have came back in week, what was it? 12.
Yeah.
But they were just like, well, we'll just hold you out. So I'm not worried about an injury or re-injury. 74.5. It's Justin Jefferson. It's a very low number. If he was never hurt, that's probably like 89.5 this game. If he was just being Justin Jefferson for the past 5 weeks. So you're getting a little bit of a value there. So I like it.
All right. John says, thanks. We thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
All right, next game here. Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. Over under Javonte Williams, 62.5 rushing yards. I always feel like he's like, I think you said it. He's still not 100% back, but you're seeing week by week
Yeah.
a little bit more Javonte. And this Los Angeles Chargers team, I mean, you can run all over them. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like this. I'm going to take the over here because Denver got into a little bit of a shootout last week, a little bit of a comeback with Houston. And Russ threw 3 picks, I think, right? And made a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah.
Is it correct that he threw 3 interceptions?
I think it was 3 and a fumble, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll look now.
So I think that they come into this one, not really worried about letting Russ be Russ. But they come into this one, let's run the ball a little extra against this soft rush defense. And let's get Javonte going. Let's control the ball a little bit. Let's not let this Chargers offense wake up like the Houston one woke up quick and early and got on top of them. So I'm going to go Javonte over. I think this might end up being Javonte's best game of the year.
Definitely a good script, especially against this Chargers defense. Flip side of the ball, it kind of made me throw up in my mouth a little bit putting this guy. Yes or no, Austin Eckler, 1 touchdown.
I'm so glad you put him on here. I was thinking when you put Javonte, I was like, I wonder, is he going to put Eckler? You know what? I'm going to say yes.
Wow.
I've had a feeling ever since Wednesday, maybe Thursday, that when they came out with it's going to be open competition with Joshua Kelly, it's just going to light a little bit of a fire under Eckler. And he might just give all that he has left. Because at this point, he's auditioning for another team. Somebody's going to pick him up. This is last year on the contract. I don't think that they keep him around. This team's got to overhaul this entire offense, really. They got to draft a stud running back. They got to get some wide receivers in there that can stay healthy and have some youth and some juice. Tight end, they got to draft. They got a bunch of, this was a term before Steve Smith used it. They got a bunch of Jags. They got a bunch of people that are just a guy. And I think Eckler, this is last stand because they're not going to the playoffs. And at home, after that noise with Joshua Kelly, I think if and when they get close, he gets the ball. And even if they don't, he tries his hardest to run one in. So I'm going to say yes. And this might be actually a pretty good bet, an anytime touchdown, because he hasn't been much of anything. He hasn't been Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
He's what I thought Austin Eckler would be this year. But I'm going to say yes, because I feel like if you are using anything that we do in ABG3P to play some props, this might be like a plus 160. Because he hasn't been getting in. So this is as good of a shot as you might get.
And Denver Broncos, even though their defense does play good against the run, it's more of their passing that they're better against. The secondary is better than the rush. So.
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of people think they're terrible against the run. They give up a lot of yards in the run, but their numbers are so low because of that Miami game. You take that game out of it, they're like middle of the pack.
All right, next game here. Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Always one of the best matchups we like to see. Over under Josh Allen, 297.5 passing and rushing yards. Josh Allen with a huge game last week. Is this Kansas City Chiefs defense going to be able to stop Josh Allen?
He's going over. He's going to do pretty well running the ball. He's going to do well throwing the ball. I really like Gabe Davis in this game. Shakir was somebody I was eyeing earlier in the week, but Dawson Knox coming back. It's just going to take just enough snaps away from him. He still might get one long one. They're going to key in on Diggs, but he's going to get his. This game's going to be my favorite game of the week. And, I'm not a hater, but I'm rooting against both of these teams in the sense that I want somebody new, even though the Bills haven't gotten there. I feel like they have. And I'm excited for this one. And I mentioned on Tuesday, I think the Chiefs are going to bounce back big. So I'm excited to see who you throw up there for the Chiefs.
I got to go with their number one guy.
God, it's so ugly. What is
he called him? He's like, he's my number one guy. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, 14.5 total touches over under, meaning
Oh,
carries and
gosh.
and or receptions. Isaiah Pacheco out, so no one's going to be hearing earthquake go by as he's running. What are you thinking?
You can run on the Bills. You can throw on the Bills. I think Mahomes is going to come out to try and light this one up. And McKinnon's healthy.
He is.
This, I think, could be a sneaky McKinnon game. If you're dying at running back and he's sitting out there on the wire, 14 and a half total touches. That's got to be 3 catches and 12 rushes. Over.
I like it. It's going to be an interesting game, man. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. All right, going on to the Sunday night game. Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome back, Mr. Dallas Goedert. Over under 3.5 receptions. Does this change the dynamic of this Eagles team that's kind of been struggling? They've won, don't get me wrong. It's always a second half comeback, or last game, obviously, they didn't play that great. But does Dallas Goedert give them that other option that they need right now?
I remember it like it was yesterday. My team was kicking ass and fantasized me. Everybody was hitting all cylinders. Goddard was doing good. And then he breaks his arm. Before that happened, I was thinking, wow, this team might have a shot to win. I might win it this year for the first time in like 3 years. I might win. He breaks his arm, and then everything just derailed from there. And it was already derailing. Like I had to ragtag put together people with the injuries, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, the Aaron Jones, all that. But he's back. It was too late, but it's okay. It's not too late to say you're sorry. I'm going to go over. Dallas is typically one of the teams that is not so good against tight ends. I don't think they overuse him, but they will use him enough to get 4 catches to get him back in the fold. I think that he'll catch 1 or 2 balls on the first drive for Philadelphia to get him acclimated to getting hit and see how he reacts. They're not going to let him run around for 3 drives before they start throwing him the ball. They're going to get him early, get him hit early, and see what happens. Hopefully he makes it through because I think he gets 1 or 2 on the first drive.
I like it. All right, flip side of the ball. Over under Brandon Cooks, 47.5 receiving yards. You were saying it. Dak's just throwing it to anybody and everybody. Yeah. This Dallas team is pretty good. You had mentioned on Answers with Gas that you think that they're going to win this game, if my understanding was correct. Yeah. Brandon Cooks, I feel like, makes a big difference in this game. What do you think?
I'll say over. I do think that they're going to try and use Pollard as early as they can. Philly likes to control the ball. You go to that Niners game, Philly was keeping the Niners offense off the field. I mean, after almost halftime, like Philly was just controlling clock. The Niners were scoring at will quickly. But they're going to go into this with the same exact strategy, try and keep Dallas off the field. So I do think that Dallas is going to try and play that game with them to keep the Philly offense off the field and using Pollard, who's been coming on. But they are using Cooks. He's doing well. He's the clear number 2. I think Tolbert is kind of over Gallup at this point.
I agree.
And Ferguson's going to be that red zone guy. So 47.5, that's like 2 catches. Let's go over.
All right. Scott says KCD has not looked good the last few weeks. Injuries in D backfield.
I really think that they came in to last week's game just sort of expecting to kind of roll over Green Bay. I mean, I was watching the game and I got like a flashback to the point, I think it was last year, where remember when they went on the field and they did that little merry-go-round where they were just messing with whatever team they were playing?
Yeah.
Like I got that sort of vibe watching them early in the game. Like, we're just going to go out here and mess around and we'll be able to win this game. and it didn't work out that way. And I
Punch in
think
the
that
mouth.
right, and I think Andy Reid's uh, got to him this week, and that's why I said on the Tuesday answers with guests, I was like, they're gonna bounce back big in this one for the Bills, and that's why that's gonna be my favorite game of the week. But their D hasn't looked great. They have a few injuries. They're getting a couple guys back this week. I think that they lost, I want to say 2 weeks ago, they lost a couple guys real early in the game. Last week, guys were falling left and right, but they're getting a couple guys back this week. Um, it'll help them, but it's not going to matter. This is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a great game, Kansas City Buffalo.
All right, going on
It
to
was their
Monday night.
line. Their linebackers. Who's coming back this week?
Monday Night Football number 1, your Green Bay Packers at
Yeah.
the New York Giants. Over under Tucker Kraft, spelled the Kraft wrong, 6.5 fantasy points, half PPR. Dude, he actually looked okay last week. He had a few more targets that I thought he should have caught. Again, you're saying it. Love is making you eat your words. He's been looking pretty good lately. What do you think?
Yeah. He's. I posted that. I think it was Colin Coward. That he had basically flat out said exactly my exact feelings. He said it before me, so he gets the credit. But it's exactly how I feel, that not only are they letting him do it, but he's starting to feel comfortable just letting the ball go. And we saw, I mean, he chucked that one ball up that Dubs got, and that reminded me of Brett Favre Monday night after his dad died playing against the Raiders. He was just chucking balls up, and they were just dropping right in. Um, so he's got the confidence. But now we're here at MetLife Monday night. Windy still on Monday. We'll see. This game's going to come down to DeVito, because if DeVito can play well, if Barkley can play well, then Green Bay's got to keep the foot on the gas, because I'm not trusting their defense. Their defense looked really good. They were pumped up last week at home against the Chiefs. Let's see if they can keep the intensity this week. So I don't know, but without Wilson, without Musgrave still, I think he's got to get in the end zone to get this number. And they're using too many different guys around us. So I'm going to go under for Tucker Kraft.
All right. Flip side of the ball, New York Giants. Yes or no, Mr. Jalen Hyatt, 1 touchdown. He was a previous 5 guys for your eyes. Came on last week, man. And Tommy Colcuts.
I hope so. So I'm going to say yes. I'm using him. I think he's their best wide receiver. I think they realized that last week. Took him a little while to get going. Yeah, get him the ball. They were just chucking it downfield. They were using him like Darius Slayton. And then last week they realized, oh, we can get it to you short and we can go downfield with you. Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense. You got these speedy guys. Get them the ball quick and let them do the work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the NFL right now. If you think about it,
yeah,
more touchdowns on
Tyreek Hill, Debo,
40 yards.
Yeah. That's what you have to do. You got to get the guy the ball in space and let him do the work. And that's what they did last week. So
man.
I'm going to say yes.
All right, last game here. Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. Over under Will Levis, 208.5 passing yards. Like you said, is this going to be a windy day in Miami on Monday?
This is going to be by chance and not by choice. This is going to be over. He's just going to have to. Tennessee, if this game was in Tennessee, forget about the weather, any type of weather that might linger from Sunday to Monday, forget about it. If it was in Tennessee, Tennessee would have a shot. They're a completely different team on the road. I don't give them any sort of chance in this one. Miami at home is a completely different team than they are on the road. Levis is going to have to chuck the ball. That's why I recommended Hopkins earlier to, I think it was Scott. So, over. And they're using Chiggy. And what I say last week about Chiggy, you're over under on Chiggy. I'm like, that's one play. He got it on one play.
One play.
First quarter.
You want to hear something funny? I took that over.
Nice.
On that one.
Nice.
I didn't win, but I took the over. I won that one at least. All right. Last but
You had a
Yeah,
parlay.
parlay. Yeah, I hit
Okay.
the parlay. All right. Devon A. Chan, 77.5 total yards. Something that you said on Answers with Guests that I think plays very true, and it depends on how the Tennessee defense does. He gets a lot of the garbage time stuff. They don't want to use Mostert because they know his age and they're going to need him for the playoffs. But they have a Chan who's, again, come back off injury, but getting the ball in the second half pretty much to himself. Is
Yeah.
this another situation like that?
I'm going to say over on this because they're going to use him in the pass game. Not that they wouldn't do that with Mostert, but because of what you just mentioned about what I had said on Tuesday, if this game does get out of hand, it's going to be him. It shouldn't be. It should not be him. It should be Wilson. They shouldn't be doing this with Achan. They should be doing it with Wilson. But they
Just
didn't.
explosive, man.
Yeah, but they didn't last week. But think about it. You're going to the playoffs. Who do you want healthy?
No, you're
Achan
right.
or Jeff
Yeah.
Wilson?
Yeah, no, you're right.
So I'm going off of recency, which we should never do with chances, I guess we never have. But I'm going to say if this gets out of hand, they're going to continue to use him. And I think they use him more in the beginning after coming back last week and getting through that game. Maybe that's what they were doing. They're like, this game's out of hand. Let's test him. Let's see how much he can endure.
That's true.
Tennessee run defense is no joke. But if he sneaks through, very few have the breakaway speed that he does. So if he busts one, he's hitting this number. So I'm going to go over.
You want to hear something funny? You know who he reminds me of? Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Like, he is just like Le'Veon Bell. Patience, waits for the line, looks for the cut. I just feel like he has that sense that I'm okay not having to run as fast as I can through that line. Let me see what happens first.
Nobody was better than Le'Veon. He would just sit.
Did.
He'd sit. He'd put his hand. He'd just sit. He'd wait, and then he'd bust.
On the Achan touchdown last week, for he was 10 yards out. There was nothing there, and he just waited and he waited and he waited. Boom.
Yeah, good call on Le'Veon.
All right. Questions from the group.
Oh, big segment.
All right, guys. We got a lot of questions. I was going to say a bad word. All right. Let's do that. I like that you've been using the leaves in the background. I'm going to do the leaves situation as well. I don't think you can see the leaves, though. But
Yeah.
All right, Scott with one here. Ridley downgrade now. Ridley, Dubs versus Giants, Madison or Addison. I think this was similar to the question I gave before. All right.
We're going with Addison.
Next on the list here, any reasons to keep faith in Herbert, seriously considering Browning going forward?
It's a leap of faith this week. Browning was on another planet last week. If Herbert is going to get anything going, you got to think that at home after last week's debacle going against Denver, this would be a good shot. But you know what? This week, I would go with Browning over Herbert. It doesn't seem right, but they're also at home and they're going against the Colts, whose defense does not play as good on the road. And a game that I could see being more of a shootout with the Colts and the Bengals. And he's got the better wide receivers. I mean, he's got Higgins and Chase. I'm going to go with Browning this week.
All right, Frank with the question here. Schultz, who's out, or Brevin Jordan?
I'm going to go with Brevin. Frank, we picked him up, right? Frank is a Patreon subscriber. We thank you so much for that. He's also grabbing a hoodie in due time from us, so we thank you for that as well. Thanks for the support. And we talked, and I said scoop Brevin. He scooped Brevin, and we got to roll with him. I'm going with him over Otten. And did you read the other part or no?
Would you like to also flex one of these over a wide receiver? Davis, Shaheed. Doesn't look like Shaheed's probably going to play. Running backs, White, Swift, or Mostert?
No, I would not, but you got to get Shaheed out.
Yeah.
Because he's not playing.
And you're definitely playing White.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't.
Yeah, just keep it as it is. You just need to pick up a wide receiver to put in for Shaheed and use Brevin as your tight end.
All right, Frank, with another one here. I'm going to have to make this a little bigger.
I can see.
Any of these worth a start over McManus, Hopkins, Myers, Groupie, Santos, Folk, Zerline, or Greg Joseph?
You know what? I'd go with Groupie because he's indoors
Inside.
versus Carolina. You know, they could move the ball. They might get stuck in field goal range a little extra. Indoors is going to be the key. And it's pretty good offense versus a pretty bad defense. So I'm going with Groupie and getting McManus out of there.
All right, Chris with one here. Pick three, please. Moss, Bijan, Kyron, Achan, or Eckler. Thank you in advance. We thank you, Chris.
You know, I was in the over and the yes with Achan and his yardage and Eckler and getting a TD. But I love Moss this week. Bijan's going to have a relatively tough go against the Tampa Bay rush defense, but I'm playing him. So those two are definitely yes. So then it comes down to Kyron, Achan, or Eckler for me. And I'm going to go Kyron because he's the workhorse and the other two are timeshares. So I'm going with your first three, Chris.
All right, next one here from Spencer. Pick one tight end, PPR, Laporta or Ferguson.
I'm actually going to sit Ferguson for both.
All right, so you're going Laporta and Goddard. He currently has in Laporta and Ferguson in the other league, so you would say Goddard over Ferguson in that one.
Yeah, and it's not so. I mean, the Goddard Ferguson, if you want to play Ferguson one, I'm fine with playing Ferguson. I do think that Ferguson has as good a shot as any tight end at getting a touchdown this week and any week. But with Shoemaker and CD being used right at the goal line, I feel like if they get close, like Goddard's not going to be used, so it's really a coin flip. But I'm using Porter over Ferguson. So if you like Ferguson so much, I'm fine with him over Goddard. But I'm playing Laporta and Goddard. The Cowboys and the Eagles are both habitually bad against tight end, so it's a flip.
All right, sorry to just looking at
Okay.
something over here.
So,
all right, Spencer with one. How concerned are we with all the bad weather games? We've been talking about this the whole time.
concerned.
I forgot to add. I have Nico on Jet or against Jets and Puka in Baltimore. I do have pivots. He did not put his pivots.
Okay. All right. Depending on the pivots, I mean, I would be probably a little more inclined. I'd pivot on either one equally, to be honest, because the Jets corners are no joke.
All right. Next one here. Jason has a question. 10-team PPR league, limited bench roster. Lockett has been my weak link most games. Any of these guys on waiver worth grabbing? Dude, he has tons of awesome players out
Yeah. Addison is off waivers now because today's the 9th. I would have said, yeah, grab him. Johnson would have been a nice play. Elijah Moore. And there was one on Mingo.
And Mingo, yeah.
Like those are
Cooks.
guys. And Cooks. There's a bunch. In all honesty, I think this week I like Addison. Going forward, I'm not so sure. But if you want someone for this week, I'm going to be honest. I think this week, I would use Mingo. Or there's Godwin there too. And you had asked the question about Mingo and Godwin. There's so many guys there.
I'm going top two. I'm probably going Drake London, to be honest with you. Comeback game, didn't have a good week. I know Ritter's not that great. This means something. They have to win these games, right? Isn't Tampa Bay right there? Aren't they close to the same record?
Yeah, I was overlooking him. There's just so many choices.
There are. This is tough.
This is a 10-man?
10-man, but limited roster space.
Limited rosters. That's why there's always. I'm dropping Lockett for really any of those guys that we talked about. This week, I'm fine with London. And unless you can get Addison, because I like Addison this week, but Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah, one of
Top
those two.
two.
Yeah,
Addison.
top two guys right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Michael got a few questions here. One, looking like Trevor Lawrence might play this week. In the league, I have him, the playoffs start this week. Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a couple of leagues that the playoffs start this week. He does play. Should I start him or just roll with Minshew?
Minshew.
I agree. Roll with Minshew. You can't take a risk with him getting hurt again. In the same league, would you play Gibbs over Etienne, White, or Kyron?
I'd play him over Etienne.
Yeah, I agree with that. In a different league, CEH or Javonte Williams?
I'm going Javonte.
The ABG3P guys. And last but not least, in ABG, I need to win and get a little help to make the playoffs. Cooper, if he plays, or down. Sounds like Cooper is playing.
Cooper's going to play. I'm going to go Downs.
He's the one who picked up Downs when I dropped him.
Yeah, I'm going to go Downs, I think. It's just, I don't know. I'm going to go Downs, I think.
I'm always worried about the guy getting hurt again, to be honest with you. That's what makes me worried about Cooper. That Browns, that's going to be such a weird game.
I just don't think that they're going to have to throw too much.
Yeah. Flacco still, Flacco was looking for him, don't get me wrong, but Downs, I think he's going to be needed more. Like you said, that's going to be a higher scoring game than people are going to think.
Yeah.
All right. Anonymous, Purdy or Mahomes?
I'm going Mahomes.
Mahomie. Yeah,
I just have a feeling about him this week.
And next one, Elijah Moore or Noah Brown PPR?
Oh, goodness. I'm going Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
The full point PPR takes it because they could just feed him at the line.
Target, man. Targets.
Yeah.
All right, Landon with a few here. Oh, no, I lied. Question for tonight. Need a win for a chance to get into the playoffs. Pick one running back and one flex. Nico Collins at the Jets. Rice at Buffalo, or Rice at home. Mitchell versus the Rams. Ford versus the Jaguars. Javonte Williams versus the Chargers. McKinnon versus Buffalo.
Wow.
We appreciate you, bud. What's up, Zach?
The sexy play, but I don't think you can do this for a chance to get it, but I just have a feeling. it's a McKinnon game. He just has these late in the year, these out of nowheres. He's been shelled for the past couple weeks. I'm playing Javonte Williams as my running back. I know Ford could have it easy going, could be running the ball quite often. I don't mind Keaton Mitchell at all against the Rams, but I'm going to go with Javonte for his best game of the year because I said I think it's going to be. So that's going to be my play. And I wanted it to be Rashee Rice, but if you're feeling sexy, man, I just have a feeling that McKinnon's just going to have one of those ridiculous games just out of nowhere where he gets targeted like crazy in the red zone and busts. Rice is completely safer. So you need this for a chance to get in. I'd say Javonte and Rashee Rice. But if you are feeling saucy, let's say, is that a 4:00 game? I think that is a 4:00 game, right?
Yep, 4:25.
If you're getting smoked, I think you put in McKinnon over Rice. Like if you need like a 30-pointer out of nowhere, like we've seen it before with McKinnon.
Yeah.
He scores 2 points a week, doesn't play, gets zeros, goose eggs, and all of a sudden he's got a 30-point game. If you need a Hail Mary, I think he's a perfect Hail Mary. I think he's great for DFS. Like if you got a little bit of salary and you got to find somebody to plug in, like he's perfect. But Rice would be my safe call.
All right, next one here. Browning or Herbert?
I answered it before, Browning.
All right, Spencer with another one here. Super flex start 2, Hurts, Purdy, and Herbert. I'm going Hurts and Purdy.
Yeah, I think I would too. Problem is you just can't trust Herbert as bad as he's been. would not surprise me if Herbert outscores Purdy. But I'm just gonna. He's got better players, so Hurts and Purdy.
Next one quarterback, start Herbert or Stroud.
He always writes quarter, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I don't know.
I think he always does. His R button doesn't work. Herbert or Stroud. Gosh. I don't like Stroud this week. It makes me so nervous, no?
Against the Jets, man. That
It's
defense
just-
is good, but the weather, I think, concerns me more for any quarterback this week than anything.
The weather, the cornerbacks, the no Tank Dell, they're a tight end funnel. So Brevin Jordan, whatever.
I think I'm
run
going
the
Herbert
ball.
here, man.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go Herbert, I think, as well.
All right, for his wife, Superflex, start Lamar, Mayfield, Flacco.
I'm gonna go Lamar because he's got the cheat code rush yards.
All right, PPR League, start 2, Nico, Puka, Pittman.
Well, definitely Pittman. And I don't know, man. I think I'll go Puka over Nico.
I agree with that one. You didn't overlap that I saw, but I hope the drinks were good.
Mm.
All right, another one from Spencer. Cleveland defense seems to be falling apart. You want to roll with them or stream one of these? Packers, Saints, Texans, Lions, Colts.
I think that I would roll with them going against Mr. Beat Hard at home after 2 games where they've fallen apart. I think Flacco provides them with a little bit of offensive stability. They're at home, dog pound, backup quarterback. I think I would go Cleveland. If I had to choose one of these ones, I think I would go with the Saints.
All right, next one here. Jeremy, in place of Kirk, Higgins, Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore.
Love all 3.
Yeah, I know those actually really good choices.
Um,
I'm feeling Higgins this week.
Yeah, Higgins, but I do like Gabe Davis. I like them in this order this week. So
Yeah.
Higgins.
Same here. All right, Indy or Atlanta D?
Don't really.
I think
like
I'm rolling
Indy.
Atlanta.
Yeah, but I'll go Atlanta at home. Yes. Indy defense isn't as good on the road.
All right, Dawn with one here. Thoughts on Pollard tomorrow? Other option is Mostert.
We talked about him. I'd use Pollard over Mostert.
I agree. That could be the same situation with Achane coming in the second half and you don't see Mostert, especially if they get up big. All right, Antonio with a few here. Henry or Williams? Javonte, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Or Kyron.
Ooh.
Henry could get phased out of this game. We could just see a ton of Spears if they're playing catch up. Spears looked okay last week.
You need Henry to do something early.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with whatever Williams it is.
I think it's Javonte, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember Antonio's team. Ayuk or DJ Moore?
You're like Rain Man, remembering these guys' teams.
Such random things, though, man, to be honest with you. Why I can't remember. Antonio, dude, you stuck in my mind.
Ayuk. Let's go with Rob's call. It's the Ayuk game.
All right. I can drop Dallas. What do you think? I wouldn't drop Dallas. I'm holding on to them. I'm starting Green Bay the next 2 weeks and then hoping for Dallas championship.
I mean, what do you drop? Like, are you dropping them so that you don't have to use them this week because you want to use somebody else? I know that you're not going to get around to maybe answering this, but if you could text it right in here. We could go back into it. But as with dropping anybody, what are you dropping them for? I mean, what's the reason? Is there something better out there? Is it the only defense you have and you can't drop anybody else and you just don't want to use them this week? Is there a better defense out there that when somebody else, not if, when somebody else picks up Dallas, you could live with having that other defense? That's the issue if you drop them.
I know people are really going to be like, oh my God, Dallas gave up so much points last week and so on and so forth. This game, Hurts has been turning the ball over,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I would pay attention to that. I
Yes.
wouldn't drop Dallas. I
No.
would use another defense this week, but I'm not dropping Dallas. All right.
Right.
On the other one, Singletary, Ford, and Foreman need 2.
Mm.
Ooh,
Ford for sure.
yeah.
And I think I'm going to go Singletary.
Bounce back week. All right. Last but not least, Evans, Jefferson, Collins, or Waddle. He only needs 1 out of those. Wow.
Yeah.
Your
See,
team must be amazing.
I don't even know if it's a bounce back week with the Singletary. I mean, yeah, it would play that way. But going against the Jets, it's going to be a little easier to run. And if it's windy, they're going to be running. And Foreman is part of a 3-headed monster. And Roshan looked like he sort of took the reins last week from Herbert. How does Foreman fit into this? So that's why I'm just going to go with a Singletary and Ford. But could he bounce back, or did they give it back to Pierce? We'll find out. But Singletary, Ford, and then you only need 1 out of all these guys. Oh, baby, I'm just going to do it. Jefferson. Come on. He's back. He was your number 1 pick. Just put him in. Waddle could go crazy. Evans is going to be targeted like crazy, but I do think that there is AJ Terrell. He's going to be all over him. So I'm going to go with Jefferson.
All right, next one here. Oh, super small. I guess I didn't adjust this one. For the show, need to win to get in. Herbert or Love?
Goodness gracious. See, I don't know if the win's going to linger in the Monday night.
I like Love, man. Against the Giants defense that hasn't been playing the greatest again. They've been winning games. They've been keeping them in games to a certain extent too, but Tommy Cutlets has to stay playing well.
I'm going to go with Love. He's hot. Ride it. How do I feel about Ingram? I like him. This is his late season surge. Here it comes.
And backup quarterbacks, always safety is their tight end. So,
Yep.
All right. Thanks for the start advice on Zeke this week, guys. Got me off to a great start. Thanks for always putting those hashtag Leon.
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, with another one here. Sorry for so many questions. That's what we're here for, bud. But would you start JSN or Aaron Jones over Nico this week due to weather and the passing defense?
I don't trust Aaron Jones to stay healthy and make it through a game.
I rather take a chance with Nico, man.
All right, Rob will take a chance with Nico. I'm fine with that. JSN is way closer than Aaron Jones, only for volume. But yeah, I'd rather take a chance with Nico. He could take the top on the ball.
All you need is one screenplay for a 2-yard catch to be a 45-yard touchdown.
Yeah, he's right.
All right, remember to always get that merch, guys. 25 ship for a tee, 45 ship for a hoodie. All right, let's get back to our normal look here. Boom. Bambo. All right. I don't know.
Here.
All right, Mike with the question here. Gross got McBride on a bye. Would you rather start Brevin Jordan versus the Jets or Gerald Everett versus the Broncos? I don't know.
Mike,
man.
That's an amazing question because I kind of have a little bit of a feeling about Gerald Everett this week. But they have 3 tight ends running around like crazy. It might end up being the wrong answer, but I'm going to go Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, I think I just going to try to take the volume. It scares me this game against the Jets, but you know what? I might go up. I might go Everett against the Broncos, man. I think he's going to be needed more in this type of game script. But
the only thing for me that would give it to Everett, and the reason I said I might be wrong, is the weather.
Yeah,
it's just the weather. The Jets are a tight end funnel.
They are. They allow the most to the tight end out of everybody in the league. So,
and the the growth I saw from Brevin, like Brevin Jordan was, if you were with us last year before season 6, I was like, this dude's going to kill it. He was injured. He couldn't get on the field. Their quarterback stunk. But from 2 weeks ago, when he finally got on the field and he looked like his legs weren't underneath him, to last week, the growth and the confidence that I saw in him running routes and when he got the ball in his hands was tremendous. And that's why I like him so much this week. The weather does scare me. I think you're safer with Everett, but I like to be sexy. And that's why I went Brevin.
All right. Last but not least here, Darko with McKinnon over Swift or Gibbs.
Yeah, it's not smart. It's not smart, Darko. It's just one of those gut feelings. And you've been with us long enough that I have those often. And I'd like to say that they work out quite often. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just seems like one of those. No Pacheco. They need they need to have a big game on offense. The Bills are going to put up points. Bills defense is a little suspect with all their injuries. They got embarrassed last week against Green Bay. They're at home. This lines up to be a McKinnon type of game to me. Over Swift or Gibbs, it's so risky. I don't think it's smart, but it would not surprise me if he outscores them both. I think I would use Gibbs out of all those three, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he has the best matchup.
If I had to pick one, it would be Gibbs.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we are an hour and 15 minutes or close to that.
Sorry, I tried.
No worries. No worries. I just got to get back to this family party that I have downstairs. So remember, guys, always like us on Facebook. Go on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, and Spotify. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests, ABGFF and ABG3P. We wish you good luck. Right, guess?
Good luck. Yes. If you have questions, going to be a busy morning here. Rob, kudos to you. You get on there Sunday mornings when I can't do it. You're always on there.
I tried to, man.
Question. You're amazing. So one of us will do our best to answer it.
I got basketball tomorrow at 11:30. I'm assistant coach for the boys, so as you know. But the goal is I'll help out as much as I can wherever I can. So, but best of luck, guys. If you're going for those playoffs, get your lineups in, double check them, ask your questions. We appreciate every single one of you.
Good luck.
Best of luck.